All right, guys, welcome to another What Is It podcast.
What is it? Come and see here at Manna University.
All right, so it's What Is It? We're back, and you know what we do. We are all about educate, equip, and empower. I'm Dee Bowie. I'm the co-host for this podcast, and we're at Manna University. And we're going to have a good time because we have today's co-host is the president of Manna University. I am excited because I know him personally. I feel like there should be a disclaimer that goes out in this because, well, you'll see. Let me start with this.
Yep.
What do you like to go by? So you could be Carlo, Dr. Serrano. We're not calling you Jesus or nothing like that.
You know,
It's not a thing.
outside of students, it doesn't really matter to me.
Oh.
So students, I would prefer them call me Dr. Serrano or Dr. Carlo. I didn't spend all that time going to the 27th grade for an undergrad to call me Carlo like I'm their buddy. I'm not your buddy. I love you, but I'm not your buddy.
27th
But also,
grade.
like, I don't get in my head if just people that we work with here or Manna Church say Carlo or Dr. C or Dr. Carlo. Dr. C is Dr. Crowder. Don't call me that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't bother me because I've always said I know who I am. Like, I don't
Okay.
need someone else's validation. So whatever other people feel comfortable with, I will answer to it usually.
Okay, I was about to say, you might want to be clear because, you know, people are people. Okay, so funny story.
Yep.
My very first real interaction with Dr. Serrano was as a student. So I don't call him anything else other than Dr. Serrano. Like, even outside of work, his wife has told me, you don't have to call him that. And I'm like, I hear you, but that's what I went with for like 15 weeks.
Sure.
It's embedded, so I don't know any other way. Speaking of my first impression of Dr.
Here we go.
Serrano.
Now it starts. This was that disclaimer was for this.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. So
Here
let
we
me
go.
tell y'all. So Dr. Serrano teaches a class called Mentoring and Coaching. And at some point in my degree for my bachelor's, I was put in his class. And so it was online. And I went into the class, and I don't know if I came in a few minutes late or what, but when I came into the class, he was going off. At least that's what it sounded like to me. Like he was basically telling the students what he wasn't gonna have. Like, that's just
Oh yeah,
what
I
it
remember
was.
that.
Like,
Yeah,
he
you
was
came late
going
on the Zoom. Yeah.
going in.
Yeah.
And so I stayed for the whole Zoom, but as soon as it was over, I called my academic advisor and I said, I can't take this class. And he's like, why? And I was like, listen, I'm sure that everything he's saying is right, but the way my mental state is set up at this point in my degree, I don't think I can do this. So I'm gonna need you to find me a new class. I literally dropped the class and started another class. I had reasons. It wasn't just because of him, but it turns out I did take that class again later, and it turned out to be my favorite class in my entire degree plan. So maybe not judge your professors by their very first,
Maybe. I don't know.
or maybe
I'm
it
just
was-
myself. I mean, if you are in one of my classes or you're in a meeting with me or this is who I am all of the time. And because I did most of my education post a career in the military, already in a career in ministry, all of the things that non-traditional students typically try to throw for why they can't level up or walk into what God has called them to. I just like to start from the beginning. Like, I'm not the one.
Yeah, we're
like,
not doing that.
I have empathy, but no sympathy because I've been there, done that, and I know how messed up I am and how not important I am. And if God could help me accomplish that stuff, I don't want anyone to limit themselves by time management or any of that other stuff. And I have 2 young adult college age students. So for the traditional college age student, that's kind of where the parent in me rises up. Like, no. What we're not going to do is talk about how stressed out you are because you have a paper that's due for a class that you chose to sign up for. You get what I'm saying? So in mentoring and coaching, that's it's mentoring and coaching. So I tell the students, we're learning together and I'm going to mentor you and coach you in the course. So you walk right into a mentoring moment. I promise you, some student asked a question about time management or workload, and so that let me just stand up on my soapbox.
Like what he just did was what I walked into, and because of where I was in my mind, I was like,
Yeah, so if that sounds like going off, well, you have to have some talks with Jesus.
I did.
I promise you that's not going off. I was smiling. There was no knife hand. Like, I wasn't yelling.
There wasn't.
Yeah.
I don't think. Anyway, speaking of you, tell us a little bit about Dr. Serrano.
My name is Carlo. I'm from Tampa, Florida. I get to work at Manna University as the president of Manna University. I have a lovely wife named Jamie who also gets to work at Manna University. We celebrate 27 years marriage this year. 2 sons, a 25-year-old and a 20-year-old, both college students, doing what college students do. I've been in what you would call vocational ministry since 2005. I got out of the Army in 2005, went straight on the staff at churches. So that's really what I've done, is worked with Jesus people in military communities, Fort Campbell area, for almost 20 years. And then the overlap of that is Fayetteville and all the places Manna touches since 2013.
Okay. That's pretty dope, honestly. That's a lot of information. So what I heard him say was he's been at this game a lot longer than me. And so that's why he is our guest. Also, he is our guest.
Am I the guest or the co-host?
You are the co-host.
You're confusing
I did say, okay,
me.
don't do
words
that.
matter.
Don't.
Yes,
you know what? You're right. Words do matter. Yeah. He's right. I did warn y'all, just so we're all tracking. So he's the co-host because he's the president. And we are coming up on commencement. So most of our talk, although it's very geared toward educate, equip, and empower, it's going to talk a lot about commencement. So let's jump in. We're starting with educate, guys. Okay, so we've got commencement coming up towards the end of this month, and we can't have commencement without educate. Yep. So as the president of this great university, I can say that because it is my alma mater. What does that mean to you?
What does educate mean?
What does
commencement mean?
We can break it up that way.
Yeah. Educate for us, again, we're a people in a place of learning. I use those 2 words intentionally. We are a people of learning. This gets back to the heart of even vision Dr. Crowther had when he helped relaunch our institution over 20 years ago. We'd been a startup college in various phases. In the 1970s, Manna Church started Manna Christian College to train and equip people for vocational ministry. Then we moved locations to Chapel Hill, and there was some other grace schools that were kind of adjacent to that vision. It really wasn't until the late 90s that Pastor Michael Fletcher and others really felt we need to get that institution back. So essentially, that's how Dr. Steve Crowther ended up 99, 2000, starting what was Grace College of Divinity, which then changed names into Manna University. And Dr. Crowther would always say, it's not just about buildings and degrees. The people are what matter. We're seeing lives transformed. He was very big on that language. And that's just in our DNA. So we're a people and a place of learning, a people of learning. So people are first. It's who we are. I think we have to embody that, being this kind of growth mindset, always wanting to grow, always wanting to learn. First and foremost, as students of God's Word, but then studying whatever He sets our hand to go to. But we're also a place of learning. That means we're still a university. Yeah. There's still papers to write. There's still discussions to do. There's still assignments to turn in, standards to keep, accountability, academic excellence in an environment of grace. But ultimately, that's a long answer to a short question. Educate really connects to the heart of what it means to be a Christ follower. This is a great commission lifestyle. What sets Bible colleges apart from any other type of institution is that we do exist to advance God's kingdom through biblical higher education everywhere. And when we look at the great commissions that are in Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and Acts, specifically in Matthew's, the one we quote the most, go and make disciples. That word means learner, pupil. So, just a little bit of what educate means. Commencement, it's a start. So what's exciting about commencement is it's really the launching point. It's not an end point for our students. It's really the launching out.
It's good. I want that focus to go into what he said, what sets, Bible colleges apart from, your everyday university, is that it is, that the educate idea that it says that you are supposed to go. We are going to make disciples, and part of that is learn. I think sometimes people ask what sets Manna or a Bible college apart from, what's the difference? There's a massive difference.
Yeah.
And a lot of that falls in what he just said. So I hope y'all taking notes. It's really good. Okay. So you typically refer to our commencement as Super Bowl.
Yep, Super Bowl.
We know that the Super Bowl is probably the biggest sporting event of the year. So break it down for us. Why would we compare commencement to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, these kind of wordplay things we do are funny. I don't want to mess up our rating of our podcast. Someone might eat a piece of cake and say, oh, this is like crack. And we're like, first of all, you're not a drug addict. Don't make that comparison. What they're trying to say is this is so good. It's addicting.
Yeah.
I can't stop having it. I want more,
Yeah,
right?
that's good.
So when we compare things to the Super Bowl, in church world, we would often say that Easter is like the Super Bowl. Is it because it's a game? No, it's because it's the culminating event. It's the big event. It's what everyone is working for. If you play in the NFL at a high level, you're trying to win a championship.
That's right.
And so for us as a school, it's important to, hey, what are we actually working towards? If it's not just about buildings, if it's not just about degrees, buildings and degrees are important. If it's not just about those things, what is it really about? And for us, the thing that is measurable is commencement. Students who started a program with us, completed the program to the standard, in many ways exceed the standard, and now we are launching them into the very reason they joined with us. So for us as a staff and as a faculty and stakeholders, it should be our Super Bowl. We should be excited. It shouldn't be commencement. If anyone's listening and you're involved in higher ed, your commencement shouldn't be something to dread. It shouldn't be a task. Good. It shouldn't be, oh man, we have to get through graduation. No, it should be, this is what we're doing. Like the whole point of people leaving where they are and coming to study. Again, think Great Commission. They left their nets, they left their tables, they left their families. They went to this teacher, learned from this teacher for 3 years, and then he said, okay, now go. I'm going to go. I'm going to give you everything you need, but now go. And so in many ways, that's what we're replicating in the commencement ceremony. So it just fires me up to see people. Sometimes to see people that, honestly, I worked here since 2013, and I say, I have no idea how in the world you made it. So that kind of excites me. Sometimes I'm perplexed, like, who did you pay off to get through some of these students? I'm just like, I'm telling you, I know that God is real because I just shook your hand on a platform.
Wow.
Don't tell me God isn't good, because
amen.
They know who I'm talking about.
Okay.
Folks know who I talk about. Don't make me start naming names. I won't do that to you. Some of them know who I'm talking about.
Please don't name names.
I know there is a God, and He's good, because that's the only way that you made it across the platform. But in all seriousness, it is such an exciting thing for me. So you can tell now I'm passionate. I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
Our team puts so much work behind the scenes. There's so much stuff that happens in the staff day to day, from degree audits to the care that our student services team does to actually call students and, hey, did you know if you just took one more course, you could graduate 4 months early if you just took one more course this semester? Just all that stuff we put. We're not trying to flip tables quickly like a restaurant trying to make money. It's not about trying to get people in and out. We really want to launch people in a good way into God's calling. So that's why commencement for us, it's our Super Bowl.
That's good. And I'm really grateful that you pointed out that it's not just for the student, because I think a lot of times people will look at commencement and they're like, oh, it's all about the student. And it is, because they work to get there. But you think about the staff members behind the scenes that most people don't get to see. They're working to get them there. You think about the professors, the faculty that are taking all the time to make sure that they know the information so that they can then teach, so that these students can be launched into, like, it's the Super Bowl for everybody involved. Even when you think about the families that are involved, right? The parents or the spouses, the children, because at our university, we don't just have like 18 to 25 or whatever. We've got, we got people 65 years old who are going through courses, and their children. It's a Super Bowl for them. So
many of our students are non-traditional age, meaning they're over the age of 22 or 23. And so you're right. I'm thinking of one of our faculty members, Dr. Tom Johnson, who just recently defended his dissertation at our great friends, Regent University. And his wife, Julie Johnson, who's also a Manna U professor, she made that joke of, yes, I get my husband back. I don't have to be a dissertation dissertation widow anymore. Like the family for sure carries that that burden, especially if you got a full-time job. I know students who are active duty U.S. Army, balancing all that comes with that job, and they've got young ones at home, and they're still committed to, I'm going to get this associate's, I'm going to get this bachelor's or master's. So yeah, commencement's a big celebration, not just to honor those students, but everyone else who is involved.
Okay, cool. So that was educate. Let's move into equip. We've heard a lot about equipping from professors, pastors, even our registrar, right? But there is got to be another level of equipping, at least I would think so, when it comes to you as the president of the university. So you're equipping the staff, the faculty maybe. What does that look like for your everyday?
Yeah, that's a great question, especially for every day. So when we say equip, we're talking about we serve the local church. The reason we attach equipping to the local church or to the church is because that's why we exist. We exist to provide the leaders that the church of now and the church of the future may need. Now, that doesn't mean always the pastors and the executive pastors and the like paid professional people, but it does mean that. And I think we can become too broad at times when we think of equipping. And yes, I want every believer, no matter where they are in their walk in life, to learn how to handle the Bible and be God's ambassador wherever they are. But at the same time, we do need church planners, and we do need pastors, and we do need staff members to help local churches grow and expand and thrive and make a big impact. I was just with one of our longtime senior leaders yesterday at Manna Church, and we were talking about how we want to do all these things sometimes to reach our communities, and we end up being too broad and we can't make a difference. And he was saying there's nothing like digging a deep, deep well and building the foundation of a strong, healthy local church. It's going to be so much more effective for the long term reaching the community. That's really what we're talking about when we talk about equipping. So for me in my everyday, that equipping can be one-on-one conversations with staff members where I'm just being me. Sometimes unintentionally, that is, I didn't realize that. People take away maybe a life principle or a habit or a hack or how to make a system better. Many times it's just getting people to see from a different perspective. So let me give a little bit of my brain to you and equip you to see from that. On the most practical sense, I mean, it can be anything from how to calendar block to how to study the Bible. A lot of what I do in equipping is truly just that. How do I understand this Bible? How do I understand the Word? How do I read it effectively and correctly? That kind of blends into the professor side. But really, equipping and serving the local church matters, because what we don't want to do as a university are create students who know a bunch of stuff but don't know how to do anything.
Okay, that's
what
good.
makes Manna Church and Manna University unique is that we believe in the concept of building and doing. So you're called to ministry. Awesome. Get some education and start doing something. Yeah. So whatever level of leadership that is, that's why we kind of promote from within. We create that upward draft of people. We're always looking for the next leaders and putting them in positions. You still got to get your education. It's both and. You still have to learn. You still need to do some deep study. There's still this, Pastor Michael Fletcher talks about character growing in a crock pot, right? Yeah. So there is this slow cooking that needs to happen. But while that's happening, there's still action. There's still stuff that's going on. And so to equip in connection to the local church is, for me as president, I need to be in touch with the local church. It's why I spend, 50% of my schedule is external. Meaning I'm on a plane, I'm in a car, I am at meetings, I'm talking to pastors, I'm having lunch, I'm all along the military highway and connecting with other stakeholders just to find out, what do you need? Yeah. Just a week ago from this recording, I was with some pastors along the military highway, and I effectively said, what kind of widgets do you need? I use that term crassly, like, what widgets do you need to have a healthy church? Right. And we will help produce the widgets you need for your healthy church. I'm not trying to diminish students, you're not just widgets. But ultimately, that allows, that's a breath of fresh air, I think, for the churches. for a university to say, hey, we don't want you to make your people conform to us. We exist to serve you.
Yeah.
So you tell us
Good.
what kind of leader, and thankfully because of this Mannaverse that we live in, with Manna Church and the Multiply Network, and by extension even the Impact Churches Network, so many great churches, Grace Church Southern Pines, Grace Church Chapel Hill, Grace Life Columbia, Definition Church, so many great churches that are adjacent to Manna, that are our friends. We all kind of have that same kingdom building mentality and mindset. So it's not like it's a big task for us to shift and pivot, but I think that's the future of biblical higher ed, and it's what makes our university unique, is that we do have that connection and care to the local churches of how can we train and develop and constantly refine our programs, refine our courses to make sure we're really equipping your students.
Yeah, no, that's really good. Two things I thought of when you said earlier, like people taking away little hacks for their lives. One of our first meetings, not first, like when I was a student, but once I became full-time staff at Manna University, you said something to me, and it plays in my head regularly. He said, document, because if it's not documented, it didn't happen. I document everything. Like I over document now just because of that one thing that was said. And he's right. Like unless you document it, like how do you prove? You can say you did a lot of things. I could say I ran, 7 miles. I will never say to you, by the way, that I ran 7 miles. Let's just be real clear.
Because the way my knees work, I don't.
Yeah, I know the military knees. But like for real, like if I ever say that I ran 7 miles, I'm lying. So just know. But like I can say it, but if there's no documentation, there's no proof, then it's just words that I said. The other thing is I get to stand right where I am today because of Manna Church, Manna University, the Mannaverse, and the equipping. Like I came here and I started as an intern in the experience internship, and now I am on staff at Manna University, something I never thought I'd be doing, and yet here I am. And it came because I had a long line of people from Manna Church, from Manna University, even the Manna Dream Center, who was readily equipping me. So I say that to say what he's saying is not just words that are fluttering out of his mouth. I'm a living, breathing testimony of those very words.
And me too. I mean, when you talk about equipping, it's about think like tools. You have a task to do, and you need the skill set, the intangible, the tangible tools to accomplish this goal.
Yeah.
So you want to be a pastor. So you want to be an effective and good Christian leader. Well, what is an effective and good Christian leader? Okay, once we define those terms, so what does it take in order to get there? And so that's all equipping is sometimes it's literally I'm going to give you the tool. So why do I write discussion posts? Why do I write papers? Because we're trying to equip you to be an effective communicator. What does it profit you to know the gospel if you can't communicate it effectively? What does it prosper you to understand these concepts about Christian counseling or global studies if you can't articulate it? So we're going to teach you how to be an effective writer, how to properly cite your sources, how to be a researcher. Why? Because sometimes it's not about memorizing, it's about knowing how to find the information. So why do I have to cite my sources? Why do I need 3 sources? The game is we're equipping you to be a researcher. This is a skill that you'll use all over your life. You go into a job interview. Well, if I've trained you to be a researcher and I've trained you to be an effective writer, you're going to do your homework. Yeah. You're going to show up to that place. You're going to be quoting their mission statement back to them because you did your homework. You're going to know the person who's interviewing you. You're going to be able to have a conversation. You're going to be able to talk and effectively sell yourself and pitch yourself to get that job. So that's just practically what we're talking about. There's also the intangibles, those hidden character traits, those habitudes, right? There are those things that you only learn by being tested. So what I love about Manna University being so close to Fort Bragg is we're surrounded by people who live in this constant assessment mindset, this selection mindset that Manna University, Pastor Jonathan Fletcher said, Manna U is the whetstone of the military highway. The whetstone is that stone that you're sharpening that knife on. And so there's some sparks that are going to fly. Yeah. That's a process that's going to break away and all that. I'm not pretending like I know all about knives or anything like that, but that's kind of what we're doing. So we're going to put you in the pressure-filled situation. It's the only way you're going to grow in integrity and in character and in resilience. You're going to fail. You need to fail in order to understand winning. You need to take some setbacks. That's why students may show up like you in one of my classes and think, I'm going to get an A in this. I want to get a 100. And then you get that first 92 and your heart is broken.
Yeah, for
and you
sure.
make the mistake of saying, Dr. Serrano, what do I have to do to raise my grade? And I'm going to say nothing. Because you just told on yourself. You just told me you care more about those numbers than the content and learning.
No,
so
seriously.
I'll just go out of my way now and I'll make sure you never get above
No,
a 93. Just to teach you the lesson of, you need to grow in this, because in the big scheme, it doesn't really matter as much as we think it is, but you got to be in those pressure-filled environments. So that's just, there's thousands of ways we do equipping. That's just
that's actually really good. When Andrew was on the podcast in March, he talked about that very, Andrew Sutton, one of the pastors at Manna Church, he talked about that very idea that he felt like one of the main things that set Manna University apart from other Christian other biblical education, higher learning education places, is that he got called to the carpet. The professors, they dealt with those character things, not just the education, but they equipped by dealing with, and so he's now a pastor at Manna Church, because at Manna University, it was one of those things where it's like, no, we're not going to just teach you this information. We're going to now equip you to do that. And that means I'm going to have to call you to the carpet sometimes. I'm going to have to deal with some of the character stuff if you're going to actually go out and do those things. So that's really good. Okay, so it's Empower Time, which is, I always say it's my favorite out of the three, because I just have this heart for empowerment, right? So to be the president of the university is a pretty big deal, I'd say. I don't know, do you say? No, not that big of a deal?
Good job.
Okay. Yep. He said it, not me. Okay. Who or what was it that empowered you to get to the place you're in?
Wow, that's a great question again. At Manna U, when we talk about empower, that means we develop and deploy leaders. So we develop leaders for the purpose of deploying them into their calling. We already talked a lot about that with Commencement. The people that have empowered me, a variety of folks. Empowerment is giving someone the authority and the freedom to fail, the authority and the freedom to execute a task. And so it's almost releasing someone into it. So it could be my first ministry job out of the Army, where I was encouraged to preach a lot. I worked at a denominational church at the time, and I probably preached 75 sermons my first year out of the Army.
Oh, wow.
Because that church had Sunday morning service, Sunday night service, Wednesday night service, Thursday night prayer meeting service, Thursday afternoon nursing home service, Friday night young adults service, Sunday morning young adults. Like, there was a lot of activity and busyness. And so what that did for me was, early in my ministry career, I just had to learn, always be ready to preach, always have a sermon in your back pocket, we would say. But I was empowered to do it. I was encouraged, hey, right, I wasn't micromanaged in doing that. To get into my current seat now, that empowerment looks like people like Ron McBride, our academic consultant, Ron McBride, who served here for years as our chief academic officer, was our interim president for a while. Back in 2015, when he came on board, him saying yes to a lot of my ideas. Hey, can we change this course? We need to change this course code. Why are we doing it this way? And he would always fight for me and say, yeah, that's a good idea. Do it. So just kind of that, do it mindset is what we're talking about for empowering people. Ultimately, it was really Dr. Crowther who just set me up for success, doing kind of those same things that Ron would do, and saying, yes, Carlo, let's do that. Or, hey, maybe not right now. Or, hey, we can't do that. I'll never forget being in a group of pastors. I just finished my doctorate. And so Dr. Crowther and I were the only doctors in the room. And so it was intimidating for me, because they were looking to me for answers. And like, you got Steve Crowther sitting right there. Why are you talking to me about it? But I said something that was a little bit of a hot take at the time. And I'll never forget him saying, Carlo, you're right, but none of these guys get it yet. And so you want to be careful when you're leading. Don't be so far ahead that they can't keep up with you.
Ooh,
Pastor Michael Fletcher would encourage me that, hey, when you're leading, remember not everyone's been on your journey. And so the temptation as a leader is to think everyone should start where you currently are. Real leaders go back to where they are and you kind of bring people with you. So go and do that. And then they would give me tips and ideas of here's how that can work. Yeah. So they never tried to wet blanket and say, hey, you're wrong. It was never a rebuke. It was never a, you're wrong, young man. One day when you're old enough, you'll get it. One day when you're mature, you'll understand. They never treated me that way. They always said, that's great. Yes. Now, how can we do it effectively? How can we be good and effective? And so those are just leaders who really empowered me. So I try to do the same thing to our staff.
Yeah, sure.
If you have an idea and it doesn't drift us from our mission, that's an awesome idea. Do it. What we're not going to do.
Okay, this is good.
Yeah, what we're not going to do is be hypercritical and complain about everything and not criticize by creating and not come up with solutions. What we're not going to do is just point out all the flaws in people, point out all the flaws in systems, and then expect someone else to come along and do it. An empowerment culture means there's accountability.
Yeah.
So a culture of assessment and empowerment means if something is broken, you should bring it to the attention, but you need to be prepared to fix it. Yeah. Because obviously you're the one with the vision to see the issue. And so we want to be a culture that says, hey, yes, do that. And let's help you do it. So we want to develop and deploy.
That's really good. I had someone tell me a long time ago, I don't even remember who it was, but they said, for every one problem you have, come with three ways to fix it. And what that did was keep people from coming with problems. Because now you have to actually think past, I'm going to come and just complain to you about this thing that's wrong, but I have to actually think about ways that I can fix it. Not saying that all those ways are going to be great, but I have to actually think past what I have a problem with, but thinking too, how do we fix it? And that's a part of empowerment.
Yeah, the two easiest things to do in leadership. Leadership is hard and traumatic. For real. I wrote a book about it.
Yeah.
The two easiest things to do in leadership are everything and nothing. So to lead,
that's a word.
It's very easy to just tell everyone, do this at this time in this way. Matter of fact, I can do it better than you. Just watch me do it. In leadership, it's very easy to do that. So just got a bunch of robots working around me. In the classroom, it's students do it exactly this way, by this standard, every time. Like, it's very easy to do that. Or to do nothing and just say, I don't care, guys. Do whatever you want. And to have this kind of big kumbaya fest where there's no accountability. Those are the two extremes of easy leadership. I think the leaders God's called us to be, good and effective leaders, transformational leaders, servant leaders, authentic leaders. I think that kind of leadership means we have to be comfortable in the mess. And to quote Stanley, a lot of what we're dealing with are not problems to solve, they're tensions to manage. And so empowering cultures live in that messy middle of, I have to be okay with this not going the way I would do it because I'm developing and deploying a leader. You're going to fail 5 times. It's okay. I remember one of our younger staff members making some mistakes earlier on in their time with us. And I remember having a conversation with them where I just encouraged them like only I can. And I said, the problem is you think we don't already know you're bad at your job. You think we don't already know you kind of suck. Like, that's why you're here, because we love you and believe in you and we want you to be better. As soon as you get free of this idea that you got to be perfect and that everyone's expecting you to be this thing that you're not, I said, it's going to change your life. Like, we love you. We know you're awful at this. That's why we're developing you and doing it. And in that team member, I know it was this is a place where failure isn't fatal. It's not final. Like, I know that I don't want to make mistakes, but I know I'm always going to be met with truth and love. There's going to be compassion. There's going to be kindness and candor. That's what empowering is, because what it does is it makes people want to come back. It makes people want to level up. And Pastor Michael, I've been quoting him a lot in this. Pastor Michael told his sons, and it's something that was passed down to me before we would preach. He would always say, preach happy. I remember just several weeks ago, I was preaching a sermon and Pastor Chris Fletcher texted me 6 a.m. on a Sunday, preach happy, because we knew the content of the message. And what that encourages us to do is to remember, hey, we're trying to build people up. So even though what I'm about to say is hard, if I say it with a smile, you'll receive it. And so one thing I love about our culture, staff and faculty, is we can have those tough conversations, but it's empowering. You can to Andrew's quote, Andrew, you can get called on the carpet and leave feeling so much better.
Yeah.
Not because you were manipulated, but because you realize, whoa, these folks are really for me. They're really trying to develop me. They're really trying to launch me into something else. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I was actually listening to Craig Groeschel's leadership podcast earlier this morning, and he said, our problem is we see things automatically as a problem. He said, if you stop looking at it as a problem and start looking at it as an opportunity, we'll actually be able to make some changes. He said everything that comes up, everything that started as a problem. Somebody saw a problem and then they figured out how to fix it. And so I think that's a big part of what I've seen happen with my own eyes right here at Manna University.
I'm a skeptical person by design. And so, but it's not a negative skepticism. I'm actually skeptic about negative people. So when someone comes with a problem, my default is, I don't believe you. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think you're blowing it up. Let's question, let's consider it. And so that's why I would prefer, hey, if you got some issues, let's look at solutions. Let's look at how to figure it out. So challenging the assumption that there's something wrong, there's something broken. International students at Manna University, for example, we have students in 14 countries at Manna U. Many of these students, English is their fourth, fifth language. And so we've learned how to challenge the assumption. So we operate under a premise that every class is an English class. Why did we come up with that mantra? Because we're trying to develop high-level writers. That was until we started opening mentoring centers all over the world, and we realized, wait a minute, if there's a language disconnect, we're the ones who have the deficiency, not the person who speaks 5 languages. So how can we empower these students? How can we empower our faculty? So practical things we did was, let's alter our rubrics. Let's alter our standards. Let's increase some academic freedom. Again, not promoting cheating, not promoting sloppiness, but let's empower people to solve these problems instead of, or take advantage of these opportunities instead of, oh no, look at this big problem and mess that we have.
And because of that very reason, we had, 4 different commencements?
We had commencement last year in Mexico, in Aguascalientes, Mexico. We had commencement in Kigali, Rwanda. We had commencement in Colombia, South America. And of course, we had our commencement right here in the U.S. And in 2025, we'll, at the time of this recording, in about 2 weeks, I will be back in Rwanda to do one more commencement for a graduate student who's there. Now, I don't travel all over the world just to do commencements. And I'm not going to Rwanda just for this one student, but hey, while we're there.
But while you're there.
Let's give him his stuff.
That's awesome. All right, our last-ish question.
Last-ish.
If the goal is commencement, how do we empower our students to get there? Talk to our viewers as if they are the students that you want to empower towards commencement.
Yeah, academic excellence in an environment of grace is probably how we're going to empower you to get to commencement. So we're going to keep our foot on the gas. There are deadlines, there are timelines. We have certain policies like no late assignments turned in without prior approval. There's lots of angles to why we have that standard. One, we're trying to develop in you character and integrity, responsibility. Telling your professor, hey, I'm going to be late is not the same thing as asking. I don't know what your mama taught you, but when my mom taught me, that's not asking a question. So we encourage our faculty to hold to those, but then we also encourage our faculty to be gracious, to be as generous as you can. So one thing I think that sets Manna U apart is a lot of our students who get zeros or Fs, and we don't have a lot of students who get that, but of those who do end up with an F, it's not because they weren't given opportunities.
That's right.
We've had students who really blow it on an assignment for a variety of reasons, and they're always given a chance. Hey, we'll let you resubmit it. Maybe not for full credit, but we'll give you a chance to make it right. So those are ways that we are pouring into the students to get them to that goal. I hope every faculty member as well is considering that in their classes. I know our staff, we're giving that attention to detail and care of our students to make sure they're in the right classes, that they're going to finish on time. And then probably like 6 or 7 months before the commencement, we start hitting them up. Hey, it's that time. Apply, get ready. And then, of course, we'll throw the big party for them when they show up.
So good. Well, this has been amazing. I'm excited about commencement.
Yes.
I'm excited about everything that comes with that. The planning of it is so much fun. And the fact that I get to be a part of helping for that celebration is honestly a blessing because I've experienced the other side of it. So, okay, so I give everybody a bonus question that they don't get ahead of time.
So that was the ish that you said.
That was the ish. Everybody.
Wait, you gave these questions ahead of time? I must have lost that email.
Okay.
Sorry.
Here we go. All right. So, which of Jesus's parables would you consider your favorite and why?
Which of Jesus's parables would I consider my favorite and why? I think the parable of the lost son is my favorite parable. That whole sequence of the parable of the lost, Jesus talks about a sheep, and then he talks about a coin, and then he talks about a son. I love that sequence of parables because it reflects really the state of people. And all of us maybe at one point are not in our journey. That sheep, we all like sheep have gone astray. Each of us has gone our own way, Isaiah tells us. So that idea of that sheep, some people are lost and it's like you can't help it. You're going to wander away. That lost coin, this person who tears apart their house looking for this coin. It was always so striking to me because it's not the coin's fault that it's lost.
Right.
And the coin doesn't even know that it's lost. And so how many people are far from the Lord who they don't even know? No fault of their own other than where they're from, their situation. And yet Jesus talks about that shepherd who leaves the 99 to go and find that one. By the way, that's what we call a salvific passage. So this does not mean as a leader, you let your whole team suffer because you've picked one person you're trying to save. No, that person probably needs to find another organization because you got a bunch of people depending on you. That is talking about someone outside the kingdom, bringing them into the kingdom. So the sheep and the lost. But the son, this idea of a young person saying, give me what I need, let me go out. We get that parable, I think, the church, we get it so wrong because we focus on this young man who goes out and lives his life and then realizes I have nothing. And then he comes back, right? What a beautiful picture of the father who's there, who cuts him off. If you're familiar with that parable, this young man has a whole story. Okay, I'm going to tell him that I'm going to come back and I'm going to work as a hired hand. Like he's got it all ready for how he's going to work his way back into the good graces of the father. And yet the father's like, oh my goodness, throw a party. Why we get that parable wrong is because we think the lost son is the one who took the money and went away. And Jesus, I'm convinced, told that parable because the lost son is the one who stayed home and who was with the father and who did all of the stuff. And his reaction was, I've always done what's right. Almost, how dare you celebrate this one who went off and squandered all of his money on all this loose living. By the way, do you know the parable never tells us how he spends his money?
It does not.
The reason we think of this lost son as, he went and spent it all on women and food. The son is the one who says those words. So this salty son, he's the one who actually says how that guy spent his money. The guy never confesses to that. The father never confesses to that. So it's such a striking parable because I think church, especially church in the West or church that's influenced by the West, this is where we can get stuck so much. As people are coming into the kingdom, as people want to receive Jesus, what they're running into is not, yes, there's always this loving father who's willing to welcome people. What they're running into are these lost sons and lost daughters who are salty. Hey, I've been doing all the religious stuff. I've been going to church. I've been faithful. You never threw a party for me. What about me? That's the lost son. So that's why that's a striking parable to me. So I think that's why Jesus told it, is to effectively say, hey, this is what the future of the kingdom looks like. People are going to be coming in. Some of them, we're all prone to stray. Some of them don't even realize they're lost. And then, of course, even this one who all the odds are stacked against them, the posture of the Father, the posture of the kingdom, is to celebrate. So my friend Pastor Mike Burnett wrote a great book called Parable Church. You should get it wherever books are sold. Because in that book, the premise is that Jesus never told us how to do church, but he did tell us what it should feel like. And what it should feel like are not this salty son standing there like, who are these people coming into the kingdom? No, we should have that posture of the Father, welcoming, the posture of that person. I'm going to tear everything apart until I find that one. And definitely the posture of that shepherd who will leave the church folks to go after. There's one more. A lot of our Manna churches use that for the one. Like there's one more out there. So anyway, that's it. That's a good
I
bonus
was
question.
trying to stump him, and he stumped me because, wow, I've never heard anybody explain it quite like that. That's a whole sermon right there. Well, this has been great.
Thank you. This is awesome. Keep doing this.
Thank you for taking time out because we know you have a very busy schedule. So thank you for that. We are appreciative for you. Keep watching. And if you are interested in any of the classes that we talked about,
That's right.
www.manna.edu. That's where you go. It'll be in the link somewhere, I'm sure. Bye.